There's also phone screen if you want bigger phones.
This is all right. Vibhavari Sesha Aloka Provesha Nidrachari Uttajiva Bolo Hari Hari Mukunda Murari Ramakrishna Hayagriva Nrisingha Vamana Śrīmad Sudana Brajendra Nandana Shama Putana Gatana Koitabhashatana Jayadasarati Rama Yasoda Dulala Govinda Gopala Vrindavana Purandara Gopi Praya Janararika Ramana Bhuvana Sundara Bara Ravananta Kara Makanataskara Gopi Jana Vastra Hare Brajara Rakala Gopa Brindapala Chitta Hari Vangsidari Yogendra Vandana Sri Nandanandana Brajajana Boyahari Navina Nirada Rupa Manohara Mohana Vangsi Bihari Yasodanandana Kamsani Sudana Nikunja Rasa Vilasi Kadamba Kanana Rasaparayana Brinda Bipina Nivasi Ananda Vardana Premaniketana Pula Sharajo Jakakama Gopangana Gana Chitta Vinodana Samasta Guna Gana Dhamma Jamuna Jivana Kele Parayana Manasa Chandra Chakora Namasudarasa Gau Krishna Jasa Rakko Vachana Manomora Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Bol, Hare Bol, Hare Bol, Hare Bol. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Ballabha Girivaradhari Jai Gopijana Ballabha Girivaradhari Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamunatira Banachari Yamuna Tira Banachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Ballabha Giribharat Hari Jai Gopi Jana Ballabha Giribharat Hari Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Banachari Yamuna Tira Banachari Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Parvrajagacharya Astatara Sadashi Śrīmad Bhāgavatam Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Namacharya Haridas Thakur ki Prem Sikaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Shyamakunda Radhakund Giri Govardhan ki Shri Vrindavan Dham ki, Shri Mayapur Navadip Dham ki, Shri Jagannath Puri Dham ki, Ganga Mai ki, Jamuna Mai ki, Bhakti Devi ki, Tulasi Maharani ki, Shri Harinam Sankirtan Yagya ki, Nitai Gaur Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. What's that thing on the wall there? Oh, it has to be kept below a certain level? 90. Hmm? Or 90 is that problem and over 100 more problem. Oh, okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Yaya hi vidvan api muhyate yatas Tadko vichaste gatematmano yata Tasmai namaste jagadishwaraya vai Narayanaya kila loka shakshine Yaya hi vidvan apim hukyate yatas Tatko vichaste gatimatmano yata Tasmai namaste jagadishwaraya vai Narayanaya Kila Loka Sakshine. Days, please. Someone else. Yaya, by which material opulence he indeed, vidvan api, even a person fortunately advanced in education, muhyate, becomes bewildered, yataha, self-controlled, tat, that, kaha, who, vachashte, can search for, gatim, the progress, atmanaha, of the self, yata, properly, tasmai, unto him, namaha, I offer my respectful obeisances. Te, unto you, Jagadishwaraya, unto the Lord of the universe, Vai, indeed, Narayanaya, unto his lordship Narayana, Akila Loka Shakshine, who are the witness of all creation. Translation here, Prahlad Maharaj is speaking to Lord Vamana. Material opulence is so bewildering that it makes even a learned, self-controlled man forget to search for the goal of self-realization. But the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana, the Lord of the universe, can see everything by his will. Therefore, I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Purport: the words ko vichaste gatimatmano yata indicate that when one is puffed up by the false prestige of possessing material opulence, he certainly neglects the goal of self-realization. This is the position of the modern world. Because of so-called scientific improvements in material opulence, people have entirely given up the path of self-realization. Practically no one is interested in God, one's relationship with God, or how one should act. Modern men have altogether forgotten such questions because they are mad for material possessions. If this kind of civilization continues, the time will soon come when the Supreme Personality of Godhead will take away all the material opulences. Then people will come to their senses. Yaya hi vidvan api mukhyate yatas tatko vichaste gatimatmano yata tasmai namaste jagadishwaraya vai Narayanaya Kila Loka Shakshine. Material opulence is so bewildering that it makes even a learned, self-controlled man forget to search for the goal of self-realization. But the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana, the Lord of the universe, can see everything by His will. Therefore, I offer my respectful obeisances unto Him. So here, Lord Vamana has appeared, and this was in response to the prayers of Aditi. Aditi is the mother of the demigods. The Adityas, and the wife of Kashyapa. Also another wife of Kashyapa was Diti, who is the mother of the demoniac persons. But Aditya was very aggrieved when her sons, Indra and others, were defeated by Bali Maharaj and the demons. She was grieving and approached her husband Kashyapa to rectify the situation, return her sons to their previous glorious position. He was not so inclined initially. I mean, he felt, why be so attached? But, since it was the desire of his wife, he instructed her to perform certain austerities. What is that? Prayovrata, yes, Prayovrata. Drinking milk, I think, for a month or so. Chanting mantras, etc. And as a result, the Lord appeared as her son Vamana, also known as Aditi Nandan, son of Aditi. Aditi Dukkha. What is the meaning? Another. What's the meaning? Anybody? Yes, okay. What's your name? Gopa Vrindesh? Okay. Yeah, one who destroys the distress of Aditi. Actually, there was a devotee in Russia called Aditi Dukkha. I think he's got reinitiated now. He's Adi Ras, his name is. But he's one of the top kirtan singers in ISKCON. Some of you might have heard his recordings, beautiful. Devotees would call him Aditi Dukkha, which means that the distress of Aditi. It's actually Aditi Dukkaha. Anyway, the Vamana appeared, and as a small Brahmin boy, and these big demons, like Bali Maharaj, they were also followers of Vedic injunctions. It's mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Formerly, even kings like Jarasandha and others, they followed the Vedic principles. Even like Kauravas also followed. There were rules of warfare. They followed them, and in the night after the battle, they would sit together with the Pandavas and they would discuss the day's fighting like that. So there were rules and regulations. Krishna, of course, he's the lawmaker, so sometimes he also was the lawbreaker, but that's his prerogative, isn't it? In the Battle of Kurukshetra, he several times gave Arjun the guidance what to do. As for example, there was different generals of the Kaurava army. So Bhishma, he was a first general, and Krishna, he had Shikandi drive Arjuna's chariot. So Shikandi was formerly Amba, isn't it? One of 3 princesses who Bhishma had captured at their Svayamvara, and to bring them to be wives of Vichitravirya, who was his half-brother, who was the heir to the throne, or even was on the throne, but was very weak, and so Bhishma had captured these girls to be his wives. But the first of these girls, Amba, she had already, in the Svayamvara decided to accept, was it Salya? Who was it? As her husband. Salya, was it? Can't remember. Anybody? Any of the ladies can remember? Anyway, so he said, okay, go back. But Salya refused. Bhishma already captured you. So she was stuck. Then she was insisting to Bhishma, you have to marry me. But he said, I took the vow of celibacy in order that my father could marry Satyavati. So he refused, sent her back, and she was lost, caught in between, and she became very inimical to Bhishma. Was always meditating how to kill him, punish him. And the other 2 princesses were married to Vichitravirya, but he died young and there was no offspring. Anyway, long story. Later she took birth as Shikandi, but Bhishma always considered her to be Shikandi to be a woman. So he wouldn't fight with a woman as per, Vedic standards. And that's why Krishna advised, put Shikandi on the chariot, and Bhishma won't fire his arrows, and Arjuna standing behind was shooting arrows at Bhishma. which is how he came to lie on a bed of arrows. And we know after the Battle of Kurukshetra, he was still lying on a bed of arrows for more than 50 days. How many? 58 or something, like 54? 50, can't remember exactly how many days he was pinned to the ground, but by mystic power he could maintain his soul within the body. And eventually he waited until the Pandavas came back with Lord Krishna, and then meditating on Krishna and glorifying Krishna with beautiful prayers, then he left his body. There's a beautiful chapter in the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam in the first canto there. The departure of Bhishma and the prayers offered by Bhishma. The next general was Drona, and he had some dispute with Drupada, right? Drupada or Drupada? Huh? Drupada, yeah. So he had a dispute with him, and then he prayed to have a son that could kill Drupada. Prayed to have a son that could kill Drona. So eventually, in a battle, Krishna advised, the son was Drishtadyumna, and Drona had a son called Asvatthama, and in order to discourage Drona from fighting, Krishna knew if he thinks his son has died, he'll give up fighting. So he instructed Yudhisthira to announce that Asvatthama is dead. But Yudhisthira refused. He was known to be a man who always spoke the truth. And seems to be some intense massaging going on here. Hare Krishna. So Yudhisthira refused. It said Yudhisthira's chariot wheels never touched the ground, but when he refused to follow Krishna's instruction, then his chariot wheels touched the ground. Then there was an elephant called Asvatthama, and all right, he told Yudhisthira, they killed the elephant Asvatthama. He told him, you announce Asvatthama, the elephant is dead, and with the word elephant, Krishna blew his conch. So Drona only heard Asvatthama is dead, and in this way, he became discouraged. He just sat down on the battlefield. He stopped fighting anymore. And then Krishna instructed Drishtadyumna, okay, now's the time to kill him. So that was the third general, Karna. And while they were fighting with Arjuna, then Karna's chariot wheel got stuck in the mud, and he had to get down to try and pull it out, and then, Krishna told Arjuna, shoot him in the back. So, I mean, these are, by the standards of warfare, the highly improper actions. But anyway, Krishna, he can do that kind of thing for the ultimate benefit of his devotees and the ultimate benefit of the human society. So anyway, here Lord appeared as the son of Aditi, and it was a bit of a trick to bewilder Bali Maharaj and defeat Bali Maharaj. So the Lord appeared as a Brahmin boy, and these, as I mentioned, these big Kshatriyas, they like to follow Vedic standards, so that included giving charity to the Brahmanas. That's when Jarasandha was killed. Jarasandha was born in two halves, the body, split down the middle, and his mother thought useless, threw him away. And the witch called Jara found him in the forest and joined the two halves. So Jarasandha, see, joined by Jara. So there was Krishna and Krishna and Arjuna and Bhima. They went to challenge Jarasandha. They dressed themselves as Brahmanas, you see. They traveled by chariot, which was flying through the air. It landed in Jarasandha's capital. It's a place called Rajgir in Magad. Magad is the southern portion of Bihar. Mithila is the northern portion there. Krishna visited Mithila, isn't it, once? And he was invited by Bahalashva the king and Shuradev the Brahmin. So in the Brahmin's cottage he was received with a humble seat on the floor, a straw mat, simple foodstuff, water. In the palace of Bahalashva he received with great opulence, but he was equally pleased with both receptions because both had, pure bhakti towards him. So Krishna is interested in the bhakti. It doesn't matter if the reception is simple or opulent. In any case, the bhakti is there. Krishna is attracted and pleased. Mithila, that's also the name of Janak Maharaj. That was his capital, Mithila. Or his kingdom, rather. Janakpur is the capital. Janaki is the name of Sita. He found her while plowing the fields, isn't it? Anyway, Magad is South Bihar. So Rajgir is the capital. Then was, now Patna. Pataliputra, as it was known. So Rajgir, you can go, there's a holy place. You can actually see there's a rocky plateau, very big rocky plateau, and there's two very deep, long grooves in the rock. So it is said that is where the chariot landed, Krishna, Bhima and Arjuna, when they came to challenge Jarasandha. So anyway, they had dressed as Brahmanas, but he saw they had bow marks on their shoulders, so he knew that they're up to something. But anyway, since they were dressed as Brahmanas, he agreed, okay. What do you want? What charity can I give? And then they said, we want to challenge you to a fight. So he said, Arjuna is too young, younger than me, he's not qualified to fight with me. Krishna, we don't know, what's his caste, who he is. But I'll fight with Bhima. They fought, I think, 28 days. Then Krishna, he gave the signal to Bhima how to kill him. He took a twig and split it, lengthways up the middle. So then Bhima, he got the message. He pinned one of Jarasandha's legs to the ground and pushed the other one high in the air and split him down the middle, lengthwise. So yes, these great Kshatriyas, they They liked to follow the Vedic principle. They liked to give in charity to the Brahmanas. So this was the expert trick of the Lord, that he appeared as a small Brahmin boy and he begged charity from Bali Maharaj. Bali Maharaj's guru, Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, he's a seminal guru, family guru, who chants mantras and, does different rituals for the benefit of the king. And he said, no, don't give him. This is Vishnu. He understood it's Vishnu. So it's a bogus guru, in other words, not giving Krishna consciousness, but he was worried about his own maintenance, no doubt. He was living comfortably at the expense of Bali Maharaj. Don't give him anything, he'll take everything from you. So Bali Maharaj said, never mind, I already gave my promise. These Kshatriyas are very honorable. Let him do what he wants. I've given my promise, so okay. Then the Lord assumed a gigantic form known as Trivikram. With the first step, he covered half the universe. The second step, the other half of the universe, even kicking a hole in the roof of the universe through which a drop of the causal ocean fell. By so powerful and huge, Lord Shiva had to take it on his head and then release it gradually, which is the Mandakini Ganga. Mandakini, this flows through the heavenly planets, three planetary systems. So Mandakini in the heavenly planet, here in this planet is the Ganga. And then Lord asked, he arrested Bali and he asked him, where can I put my third step? So Bali Maharaj said, put it on my head. So this is a Atmani Vedanam. We know there are 9 processes of devotion, Shravana, Kirtana, Smarana, Vandana, beginning with hearing, chanting, remembering, and the last one, 9th one is Atmani Vedanam. So examples are given of personalities who got perfection by following one or other of those processes. Parikshit Maharaj by hearing, Shukadev Goswami by Kirtanam, by glorifying the Lord, and Prahlad Maharaj by remembering the Lord always. So Prahlad speaking here. And Bali Maharaj got the perfection by fully surrendering. Lord had taken everything from him, and then he surrendered himself. So this is a very high level of Krishna consciousness. By the mercy of the Lord, he was able to attain that. So here, the different personalities are offering their prayers to the Lord, glorifying the Lord. And here Prahlad Maharaj has come. Prahlad Maharaj is the grandfather of Bali Maharaj, and very, very exalted Vaishnava. So here he's glorifying the Lord. In the previous verse you read, it is your lordship who gave this Bali the very great opulence of the post of the heavenly king, and now today it is you who have taken it all away. I think you have acted with equal beauty in both ways, because his exalted position as king of heaven was putting him in the darkness of ignorance. You have done him a very merciful favor by taking away all his opulence. And he's continuing this point in this verse today. Material opulence is so bewildering that it makes even a learned, self-controlled man forget to search for the goal of self-realization. So Krishna gives, Krishna takes away. If Krishna gives us some opulence, we should use it in His service and not be overly attached, or not be attached at all. Like Srila Prabhupada, when he went to America, he had only 40 rupees. But then he said that Krishna gave him 40 crore, Krishna gave him vast opulence, beautiful quarters, beautiful buildings and temples all over the world, and beautiful quarters also. Like here we have Prabhupada House, and beautiful quarters of Srila Prabhupada, very nicely preserved until the present day. Same furniture. So devotees can go and they can meditate on Prabhupada and chant the holy names in Prabhupada's room, a very sacred place. And there are some other places, not many throughout the world. Yesterday, Aniruddha Prabhu was mentioning how he visited New Mayapur in France. There also Prabhupada's quarters are preserved very nicely, or Bhaktivedanta Manor in UK. Very opulent quarters there. I remember actually Prabhupada, first time he came to Bhaktivedanta Manor was in May 1973. He had come to London Temple in 1972, and there was just a rented building in the city. There's too much packed up with devotees, sleeping on the stairs everywhere, in the bathroom everywhere. So Prabhupada, he asked Sam Sunder to ask George Harrison if he would, donate a new building. During the winter of 72, 73, George and Dhananjaya, who was the president of London Temple, then they searched and they found this Bhaktivedanta Manor, which is it was a big manor house on the outskirts of London. So they decided to buy it. Prabhupada gave his blessings, and Prabhupada came to see it in May. I remember then I was in Dublin, we had opened a centre there, so we came over to see Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada came from Shamsundar at the GBC. He was well known for doing, remarkable things. He's written a book, what is that? Chasing Rhinos with the Swami. If someone goes chasing rhinos and he's not successful to capture or kill one, then people will say, never mind, it's impossible anyway. But if he captures one, then, that's an amazing feat. So, he did wonderful things like that. He met the Beatles. George Harrison recorded Hare Krishna mantra, and then the Govindam prayers that we sing every morning to greet the deities. Yamuna Devi singing that record was made by George Harrison. So this publicized Krishna consciousness very widely. I first heard a Hare Krishna mantra, it was a hit in a hit parade, and the devotees actually became like stars. They were booked in to do concerts all over Europe, and they're traveling here and there. There was a program, Top of the Pops, in UK, and they were on there, but the producers had, gotten some girls with miniskirts to, accompany them, with the dancing. So the devotees said, no. Then they figured, okay, get some cloth, wrap around them like saris, and then they were dancing. So anyway, that was one of the great accomplishments of Samsundar. Getting Bhaktivedanta Manor, of course, was another, to convince George. And then Samsundar, he liked to do big things, so he rented a helicopter for Srila Prabhupada, and Prabhupada flew, instead of coming by car from London Airport to the manor, he flew in a helicopter. But it was, the weather wasn't very good, and he didn't like it at all. It must have been a bumpy ride. And he came to the manor, and devotees didn't have any money. So there was no heating, there was no furniture. I remember going in Prabhupada's room, and he was sitting on a mat, on the floor, completely bare room. But then devotees, they managed to fix it up. So by the time he came back for Rath Yatra, and by that time it was very nicely fixed up, beautiful quarters. It was like main darshan room overlooking the lawn. It's actually beautiful. Prabhupada liked to sit out on the lawn, chant his japa. There are nice pictures of Prabhupada sitting on that lawn. And there's also one with a small boy whose name was Shivajvara. Prabhupada liked to tease him and play with him. And in those quarters there were also like a nice, bathroom, old-style bathroom, old-style bathtub, and then some kind of kitchen area to prepare some prasadam for Prabhupada, and then a nice bedroom as well. He was like the British version of Bob Dylan. Graham Hill, who was a world champion Formula One driver. He lived somewhere near the manor. Many distinguished persons came. So Prabhupada was relishing. He was relishing preaching to them. Actually, I think my parents might have been the first guests in that new quarters, because Prabhupada came on the evening before Rath Yatra, and then next morning before Rath Yatra, I brought my parents to meet him. So Srila Prabhupada was very, courteous with them. He said, "Nice father, nice son." And he said, if someone becomes a devotee, 10 generations in the past, 10 generations in the future are liberated. Sometimes the question is asked, what kind of liberation is that? But actually the liberation is that one will get a chance to become a devotee, one will get a chance to be born as a devotee. It doesn't mean he's going to be Brahman liberated. So anyway, 10 in the past, 10 in the future will get that opportunity. And then he gave me his garland. He said, "Put it on your father." So there was a real blessing for my parents, who, they had become vegetarians, and they used to offer their food by chanting Hare Krishna, and they would come to Rath Yatras. They also, when they visited other countries, sometimes stayed in a temple like New Mayapur they visited. They stayed there for a few days. So they did get a special mercy from Srila Prabhupada. After that, Prabhupada went to the Rath Yatra, which is a famous Rath Yatra in which he danced all the way from beginning in Marble Arch to end in Trafalgar Square. And Shamsun, the Mahavishnu Maharaji comes here sometimes, right? With Harinam Ruchi. Yeah? So he had gotten an inheritance from his uncle, £7,000. In those days was a lot of money. I had begged from him £1,000 for a Sankirtan van. I was sent to Dublin in Ireland to open a centre, along with our Narahari, who lives here, and some other devotees. And so Mahavishnu gave us the van, and we went there and started the first centre. And the rest of the money he spent on this Rath Yatra. And, very opulent, built a new Rath Yatra cart. It was built by a devotee called Swayambhu. Some of you might know, I saw him yesterday in Canberra. He lives in Canberra. Swayambhu Prabhu, as he. So, new Rath Yatra cart, but they, had one of those, mechanisms for extending the length, height of the Rath cart. When the police came to inspect it, it wasn't at its full height, so they passed it. But then on the actual day, the devotees raised it up. Police were not happy at all. Then, this ecstatic Rath Yatra reached Trafalgar Square, and there, Mahavishnu had put up big pandal tents on Trafalgar Square, and the devotees had secured them by bashing in these iron pegs in between the tiles, the big tiles on Trafalgar Square. So police weren't happy about that. That was the last, Rath Yatra at Trafalgar Square for maybe 20 years. They made the devotees hold it elsewhere in Battersea Park. But anyway, they have again gotten permission, and I was at London Rath Yatra some years back, and it was wonderful. And they finished at Trafalgar Square. Anyway, there was a huge feast. Actually, I was the cook for that. Cooked for 48 hours non-stop. Very opulent prasadam. And I think about 10,000 people came and took prasadam. We had a big, one of the preparations also was a rhubarb chutney, which we kept in big bins, and it was quite liquidy. So he kept it in his freezer truck. He had hired a freezer truck. So some of the devotees forgot to serve it out. So at the end of the Rath Yatra, all the devotees, they were cleaning out. It was a hot day. They were very tired. Then someone discovered, we still got this rhubarb chutney. Then all the devotees were quaffing it down, in large quantities. Very cool and liquidy. Anyway, also he had a film made. It was quite expensive to make a film. And some excerpts you can see in Yadabar's films. Also a color magazine, full color magazine. Very nice, beautiful. And that Rath Yatra, the Guardian newspaper published a picture. It showed the Rath Yatra cart beside Nelson's Column. Nelson's Column is a famous landmark in England. Nelson was the admiral who won the Battle of Trafalgar. He defeated the French and Spanish combined, I think, there. So Nelson's Column is a famous landmark. So the Rath Yatra cart was beside Nelson's Column, and the picture was taken in such a way, looks the same height as Nelson's Column, and the caption was, "Arrival for Nelson." So probably he was so pleased with that, And he actually mentions it in a purport in Chaitanya Charitamrita, in Madhya Lila. It's a description of Rath Yatra. It says the Rath Yatra cart was as high as Mount Meru. And in the purport, Prabhupada mentions that in London in 1973, the Guardian published that, a rival for Nelson. So Prabhupada, he said, Mahavishnu has spent his uncle's inheritance very nicely. But, the devotees, they overspent, it wasn't, everything was overspent. They were also repairing, they're repairing the manner for installing the deities of Radha Gokulnanda on Janmashtami. So actually Mahavishnu and Swayambhu, they were very active in that service, and they, ripped out a whole lot of fireplaces, and they built a Vyasasan for Prabhupada and an altar. There's an unusual Vyasasan. When Prabhupada saw it, he said, "What's this? Is Lord Shiva's seat?" It's like wooden and pointy sort of angles and designs. So the devotees made another Vyasasan, more of this traditional style. But anyway, they and the deities were installed on Janmashtami, and then Prabhupada was present on Vyasa Puja as well. So it was ecstatic. But the huge debts were on up. Huge debts. It took many years to pay back. They would have taken the manor, but it was still in George Harrison. The bailiffs came, actually, debt collectors. They were, they wanted to take the whole building, but they, couldn't. It was in George's name. And later he transferred it. And they even thought maybe we can take the deities. But then they realized, it's not going to help pay the debts back. So, it was a difficult situation. And there's actually there's a famous picture of Prabhupada. The next year he was in Germany at the, what he called Schloss Reddershof. It was a castle the devotees were renting. And the Prabhupada was walking in the fields near the Schloss with a professor, Professor von Durkheim. He was a well-known professor in Germany. So they were walking in the fields. Hansaduta was there. He was a GBC in Germany. So, and he had just been appointed GBC in England, actually. Prabhupada, he changed the GBC because Shamsundar also borrowed money from Prabhupada and he didn't pay it back. And the Prabhupada said, okay, then Hansaduta has to become the GBC because he got the debts paid off. But anyway, they were walking in the fields. And Prabhupada was talking about this Rath Yatra. He was saying how wonderful it was, And Hansaduta said, yes, Srila Prabhupada, and they're still paying for it. So Prabhupada, he began laughing, There's a very, famous picture of Prabhupada. I mean, there's this von Durkheim at his side, and he's laughing like anything. So Prabhupada found it very amusing. Actually, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he didn't mind if devotees went into some debt because then they had to work hard to pay it off, so it kept them busy in Krishna consciousness. And we had to organize, the Hansaduta, he had some program of making records, devotional records, so they were selling those in other parts of his own, in Germany, Holland, Sweden, they were making a lot of Lakshmi. So he introduced it into England, and we had to organize 10 traveling parties selling these records. And Janananda Maharaj, does he come here? He was a treasurer. I was a president. He was a treasurer. He was very expert, in dealing with the creditors and making sure we didn't spend much money and getting the debt down. But devotees were a bit wild, you know, their driving skills were not that good. We had to hire vans from a company called Barnes Hire Company. Jananda Maharaj always had to deal with them and negotiate with them. The devotees would bang up the vans. We had to pay extra for the damage. And one party even, which was led by our Narahari Prabhu, parked the van on the beach, somewhere in Wales, I think, went for a japa walk, and when he came back, the van was already floating out to sea. So I lost the van and all the records inside and all the money inside, and then I had to pay for the new van as well. Anyway, there were many sort of mishaps, but somehow or other we got the debt paid off eventually. Anyway, those were rather wild days. You know, the temples have become more disciplined in their spending and their management, fortunately. The Bhaktivedanta manor now, it's very nicely developed. It's nicely managed also. Vishaka Mataji is the temple president. A couple of years back we had the anniversary on Janmashtami, 50th anniversary of the installation of Radha Gokulananda, and they have built some other building. And there's restrictions. It's called the Green Belt around London. You can't just build anything you want. There are a lot of building restrictions, but the council has given permission to extend. And nearly once closed it down, actually. So many people were coming on Janmashtami, parking their cars all over the place, as is well, unfortunately, quite common in different temples. And the neighbors get upset that the guests park the car in front of their driveway or whatever. So and Janmashtami, hundreds and hundreds of cars are parked. Oh, this is a small country village, so all jammed up with cars. The car are parked far down the road. So there was a long battle actually between ISKCON and the council, and it went through to several higher levels of courts. But somehow, and it was a big campaign. Also, it's headed up by Akundati Prabhu, who's a long time, he was president of the manor, and eventually managed to win the court case. But on the basis we had to buy a whole lot more land. I think the original was 17 acres, and they had to buy another 90 acres or so. But it was agricultural land, so it was quite cheap. It came up for sale. The devotees were able to buy it, so they were able to make a new entrance into the manor, which wasn't through the village, completely different, coming off nearby the main road, and then have big parking area, and build a beautiful Goshala, one of the most, well-run Goshalas in ISKCON. And then these big, what they call Havali, I think it's a Gujarati word, some kind of, big hall for marriages and other functions. So like that, being able to develop things very nicely. So yeah, that's a little bit of history there of ISKCON in UK. So any comment here? Question? Okay then, thank you. Grantaraj Śrīmad Bhāgavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanandi Hari Bol.